Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Deanne Healy with the Peabody Area Chamber of Commerce, and tonight with Peabody Access Telecommunications, we are pleased to bring you the debate between ward councilors. We're going to start tonight with the councilors running for Ward 5. We have incumbent Joel Saslaw and Jim Jeffrey. So thanks for joining us, gentlemen. Just to go over the rules, we're going to give you each a 1-minute opening statement. I'll pose some questions to you. You'll each have 2 minutes to answer, and then at the end, we'll give you a 1 minute to do a closing statement. Okay? So we'll start with you, Joel.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead. Opening statement, sorry.
First, I want to thank Peabody Access TV and the Chamber for hosting the debate tonight. I think they're very important for the citizens to hear, and I appreciate that. My name is Joel Saslaw. I'm 54 years of age. I live at 21 Benevento Circle with my wife, Carol, and my 2 sons, Justin and Ryan. I've been the Ward 5 councilor since 2014, so I'm going for my 3rd term. The reason why I'm running again is because I feel really I've just started to kind of really make some really good headway. I think it takes a while to learn the different nuances, the different departments, how to work with different agencies in the city. And I'm proud of the work that we've started, from the development on Route 1 to the Bonkers revitalization to the streets and sidewalks that we've done in Ward 5, and I think we have more work to do. I'm looking forward to completing it.
Thank you. Jim?
Hi, I'm Jim Jeffrey. I want to thank Cable TV and the Chamber for hosting this. I live at 8 Johnson Street with my wife and 2 sons, and they're 32 years. I'm employed by Local 7 Iron Workers in Boston. They have a good health insurance plan, so I don't need to burden the taxpayers with the health insurance plan that they offer. And my kids are educated in Peabody school systems, and I just feel that the taxpayers in general, I think, are on the back burner. It seems to be more towards the developers than it is the taxpayer itself. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we'll kind of jump right into that, Jim. So taxes are always an issue during every campaign. Nobody wants to see them go up every year, and it does place a burden, particularly on those with fixed incomes. In light of the fact that Peabody has one of the lowest residential tax rates in the state, subsidized by higher commercial tax rate, how would you propose keeping taxes stable and/or low in Peabody? And are there alternative revenue sources the city should be looking at? And does spending need to be more closely scrutinized? So Joel, we'll start with you.
So it is a fine line between keeping taxes low and also keeping quality of life. I'm proud of the fact that we have increased the commercial tax base significantly in Ward 5. 3 projects that are going on right now is revitalization of the Bonkers Plaza, which will be a $20 million plus project when all said and done. And then on Route 1, we have 2 major projects going on, where the Herb Chambers dealership is where the old delicatessen is. And lastly, right up the street, we have the new Detour Cars corporate headquarters, which is a used car dealership that's now in Danvers. They might maintain the Danvers location, but they want to make Peabody their home. That being said, what I'm also proud about is the numerous neighborhood meetings I've had, because you have to deal with issues that affect the neighborhoods. And you have to deal with, when you represent Ward 5, you have the businesses and you have the neighborhoods. And a perfect example of that was the Big Pig Barbecue, where initially the residents of Huntington Woods were very concerned that quality of life would be infringed. And we took a recess. I asked to do a site visit with some of the neighbors. We actually did a live barbecue, and we met a week later, and then it passed 10-0, I believe, on my counterpart. So that's the type of work that I do, to also generate revenue, but also to listen to the neighbors, to keep their quality of life. And if you elect me again, I'll continue to work that hard for you.
Well, as far as the development on Route 1, it seems to be turning into 114. There's car dealer after car dealer after car dealer. The old 4-star towing, when that permit was originally pulled, they told them there'd never be a used car lot there. All of a sudden, a used car lot pops up there. Now you have another one that's going in. You're going to have 1, 2, probably 5 in the last year there. I don't see why we can't find another alternative to used car lots and billboards on Route 1. If you look at Route 1, you don't even realize you're in Peabody. You think you're traveling in Connecticut or something, because that's what you see when you take a trip. And I just think Route 1 is getting too congested. And when you start putting, like that car dealer right at the corner of that trailer park, where is the car carrier gonna pull in and unload cars? Are they gonna be in the breakdown lane like they do on 114 in Danvers? So I just think it's not a good fit. Lamazny Sports Complex, he gets a permit for a certain amount of square footage, and then he says his architect couldn't fit the baseball diamond in that particular building, and he comes back and gets a larger building. The first time when he got the permit, there was 45 people in the audience. When he got the okay from the city council the second time, there was 4 people in the audience. So I just don't think that's right. When they keep continuing meetings and continuing meetings, where's the people down? People don't want to go out to City Hall anymore. They finally say, well, you know what, they beat me again, and I don't think that should be done in the ward. I think the ward should be a little more protected, and people have a little more say, and they don't get, you know, I've been to meetings where they want residents to speak for 2 minutes apiece, and they have their high-priced lawyers in there that get 45 minutes on the floor, and I just don't think that's right.
Okay, great. Continuing with some development questions. So the city has taken some significant steps in the past few years to generate more activity and interest in revitalizing downtown. As a ward councilor outside of this area, does this impact your residents, and in what way? We'll start with Jim.
Well, I think downtown, they need to draw people there, and what they're doing, in my opinion, down there, that one theater is not going to draw that many people. I think they need to have some type of restaurants down there with an open venue, like Salem. Salem draws a lot of people. Nice summer day, you open the windows, you can sit out there, relax. I mean, the carbon monoxide may kill you with the traffic that we have backed up in the city, but I just don't think, if you look at downtown, there's no place to park. I've watched community development meetings talking about they're going to relight it, they're going to put more parking. Where are they going to put more parking? You look at the money they just spent in that square. If you're a truck driver, if you're coming eastbound on Lowell Street, you can't even make the right-hand turn on Foster Street. You're going to take up 2 lanes, and traffic is just going to get more backed up. I think they spent an awful lot of money on it, and they have curb stones that are 2 inches out of the street. Plow comes by, hits it, you know, and then we're going to get all ripped up eventually. Plows are getting damaged from the city, it costs you more and more money. Why they do some of the things that they do down there, I think we need to have some restaurants on the corner where Sports Collectibles is. That'd be a perfect place to find somebody to come in there eventually and put some seating out there. You can have a restaurant there. I don't know how long he plans on staying there, but they've been there for years, and I think you just start needing to change. You need to change downtown. I go to Brothers Deli a lot, and sometimes you can't even find a parking spot. You gotta drive around for 15 minutes. So I think the parking's an issue. What is actually downtown doesn't draw people. And I think they need some new ideas on what to do down there to actually draw people into that downtown area. And then the flooding. I mean, you get down there sometimes and it could be 2 feet of water, who knows? And that could, we've done study after study after study. Nobody's fixed it. So let's work on fixing that. They can put a gate at the end of the canal in Salem and shut it when the tide's low and pump it over when it's full.
Okay, thank you. Joe?
So I take a different perspective than my opponent. If you've read the newspaper and paid attention the last couple of years, there's been a lot done in downtown. As far as being a Ward 5 resident, I do speak to people in Ward 5 and Ward 6. They don't necessarily go downtown during the week. There is an issue of traffic. I don't think traffic is an issue that's unique to Peabody. But obviously, anytime after 5 o'clock, if you're going to head downtown, the traffic's going to back up around Sioux Chains and Temple and Intermit. But that being said, we just got 10 new liquor licenses. I know they're scheduled to go downtown. I believe Community Development just gave out 3 loans last week to 3 new businesses, a brewery pub. You have the Black Box Theater. You're going to have the renovation of the Wiggins Auditorium sound. So I don't know what my opponent's talking about as far as not the right development being done. Quite frankly, being a little bit selfish and being a Ward 5 councilor, I'd like to see some of the focus go towards Route 1, And I think, because downtown is good, I think this is where it needs to be. As far as parking, I wish they had done angle parking years ago. They did it in Northampton and Amherst years ago. This was before my time. I think the situation with that is maybe some better signage. You can park behind the courthouse. You can park next to Dunkin' Donuts. There's a little parking lot behind Brothers Deli. So I think there is a lot going on downtown. And obviously the major linchpin was the O'Shea building. That was just major investment by, I believe, the Disco Development Company, and Brody's will be moving over there. So as far as I'm concerned, I think downtown's doing pretty good. And just to touch upon Route 1 and the detour pad dealership that's going in front of the mobile home, just to show how I work with people, the mobile home came to me and they wanted that development. They wanted that dealership. They were tired of people parking there and leaving trash there, desirable people sleeping overnight there. There's a business up there that's, a detox center that we have to have, but they wanted that. So that's an example of where they were tired of being dumped on. They wanted a nice new dealership, and we worked with them and the neighbors to get that.
Okay, great, thank you. Since we're talking about redevelopment, are there major areas for redevelopment or new growth that you want to see in your ward, and what kind of projects would you want to see? So, Joel.
So for new development, there are a couple of projects that are on the books right now. The first one is the Winona Woods, which is a 13-lot housing development that was approved 20 years ago. That is, if you come off Route 1, right by the Gulf gas station, take a right onto Winona Street, you go down probably about 200, 300 yards on the left-hand side. The residents and I met with the developers, Green Tea, about 6 months ago to review the project. They're happy that something's finally happening. It's not going probably as quick as people would like. They're going to tie into the sewer line in the fall, but as far as any houses that are going to be built, you won't see anything until probably the spring at the earliest. In conjunction with that, you still have what's referred to as the Marchese property, the old billiards on Route 1. That right now, we've heard a few proposals, but really no one has stepped up. That's really the last major piece off the top of my head that I can think of on Route 1 that's available for development. We'll work closely with them in the mayor's office. I'd like to see some type of retail space. There was some floated out there at one time. They may want a storage facility. I really would like to see a storage facility. I'd like to see something that's going to add retail services to the city, to the residents of Peabody, that'll make it more usable and make it better for the city, the citizens of Peabody. As far as any other major development, Peabody, in Ward 5, there's not too much. I mean, we are pretty developed from that point of view as far as not open swaths of land. One last piece is behind the Latitudes on Route 1. There was some open land there. There's a developer who's looking to put a long-term hotel. Once again, working with the residents on that proposal up there, and I think you'll see some movement on that probably also in 2018.
Okay, great. Jim.
Well, that piece of land behind Latitude, there's so many buffer zones in there. I'd like to know how they're going to configure a building that's actually going to fit in there. I know that land pretty good, and there's a lot of wetland involved in there, and there's a lot of stuff buried in there that Testa buried in there years ago. So they'd have to do a lot of work in there, and I don't think the guy will get the funding, to be honest with you. Up at the billiards, that would have been a perfect spot for a car dealer. You got 3-4 acres of land there instead of cramming it into a 200 by 100 foot parcel. I don't know what you could put in there. I'd have to look into that. I mean, that piece of land's been sitting vacant for so long, you drive by it, you don't even look at it anymore. You just kind of, and then poor people on my own, they had their pools filled with mud. They had mud all over their backyards for a long time. There was no hay bales put there for a long time. The city needs, when they have projects like that, they need a big bond. Not a bond that's enough to cover the development, it's enough that they can pull it. When these guys bail out, they go bankrupt, to pull their bond. The bond is an insurance policy. If you have a bond that's $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, you gotta be at least 50% of what the project is. So when these people need help when their pools are full of mud, we can pull the bond, we have the funds to do it, instead of burdening the taxpayers to go in there and clean that up. It should be the developer that cleans it up, not the taxpayer. Then we go to court with them, and we sit in court with them for 5 years. In the meantime, it's the taxpayers' money that's being used in court to help these people out. So we need to, when developers come in, we need a large bond, a very large bond, to make sure that we can use that money to help the people. Because a lot of times, people sit 4 or 5 years. I know Wyoming was a mess. You look at it now, it's still a mess. And how long does it take to build 13 houses? I mean, 20 years, my opponent said. So 20 years is a long time to build 13 houses.
Okay, great, thank you. So, I've been to a number of city council meetings in my time. There's a pattern of ward councilors supporting whatever another ward councilor wants or doesn't want in their neighborhood. So do you see the role of ward councilor being different than councilor at large in determining what is best for the city? I don't, Joel. It's Jim, sorry, Jim, we'll start with you.
Well, there is a pattern of that, and it's usually a given, because when I sit and watch the TV, and people I've been walking and talking to, they talk about that. You can tell when something's gonna go in, because if the ward council votes against it, sometimes you know it's going in, because they all get together and they say, okay, you vote against it, I'll take the heat on it, and at large, they can't really touch me that much. So you see that pattern a lot. I was very surprised with the Lamazin project, to be honest with you, when Joe voted for it. I thought he would go against it, that all the other councilors could vote for it. I think you gotta have an open mind, and you gotta do what's right in your mind. You can't be influenced by anybody else. You do the right thing, and you don't change who you are. And I think that council would work a lot better than when they get together and they all scam who's gonna vote for this and who's gonna vote for that. And I believe a lot of it goes on down there. And that's one of the reasons I was running, because I'm my own man. I have no agenda. I don't need a job. I don't need health insurance. I want to work for my constituents. That's all I'm looking to do.
Joe?
So if I understand what my opponent's saying, he said I should have voted against the Lamazin project so that the other council would vote for it and I wouldn't have to take any heat for it. I don't know. I'm proud of the vote I made. I led that. I did not have any hidden agenda. If I'm going to support a project, I'm going to support it. I'm going to tell the people why. That piece of property had been undeveloped once again. It was a fire trap. It was a place for homeless people. It was just not a piece of property. It was upkept by the existing ownership. Now, the mobile home, they would have liked us, the city, to buy it. They wanted us to do that. But we're not going to get in the business of buying property in open space. Unfortunately, that mobile home, they didn't have the resources to purchase it. By the way, the other budding mobile homeowners, they were in favor of the proposal. So make sure you do your homework before you say what you think you know. So I met with the people. I met with Steve Lomazny, a very well-respected family in Peabody. I met with one of the representatives, Marsha O'Leary, and I made sure that they had dialogue. At the end of the day, he did talk about the fact that they came back for a special permit. I was not happy about that. I do believe it was simply a human error. I do not believe there was any hanky-panky, there was anything of that nature done at all. Once again, Marsha called me up. She talked to me about it, and I said, you know what, you're right, talk to Steve. They talked to Steve, they talked it out, and Marsha called me up and she said, I'm okay with it. So sometimes you have to when you sit in a seat, you have to make hard votes. It's a lot easy when you're from the outside and you read the paper or you listen to conjecture. But when you're in the seat, sometimes you have to make hard votes. And as far as the last aspersion made, that the council is hanky-panky and there's backroom deals, I take offense to that. I'm sure my other councils take offense to that. That is not the way it's done in the city of Peabody. And I've been the city council president for the year. I've never, ever asked a public citizen, cut them off to speak at the podium. All we ask is that if they have something to say, try not to repeat what was said by the previous resident. But I've never, ever stymied it. I want open and transparent business, and I believe my fellow councils feel the same way.
Thank you. All right, gentlemen, that's all we have time for, so I'd like to give you each a minute to do a closing statement. Since we started with Joel, Jim, I'll give you the first opportunity.
All right. Well, I'd just like to take this time to ask the voters if they give me a vote. I'll work hard for you guys. I'll make sure you come first. You'll be involved with everything. There'll be nothing going on behind the scenes. It's about all I can say. I want to work for my constituents. I want to keep the tax base down. And that's about it, really. That's why I'm running.
First of all, I'd like to thank the voters for letting me go to office the past 4 years. I'm here for you tonight to ask for your support if you vote on November 7th. I think the work I've started speaks volumes for itself. In addition, I'm proud of the neighborhood meetings I've had from Huntington Woods to Winona Street to other areas. I inherited the billboard issue. I dealt with the neighbors up in Rolling Hills. So I inherited a lot, and that's okay. I signed up for the job, and I have no issue with that. But I'm proud of the neighborhood meetings I've had. I'm also proud of the development that's going on Route 1 that's going to help keep taxes down in Peabody. I think we're moving in the right direction. I can't wait for 2 years from now when some of those projects we talked about, and I can come back and we can see those nice shiny buildings and those tax dollars on the books. I'm proud of the work I've done. I'm proud to be from Peabody, and I want to continue to work hard and represent the citizens of Peabody. Feel free to call me, email me anytime you want. I return every phone call, every email, and feel free to look at my Facebook page, Ward 5 Councilor Joel Sasslaw, Peabody. Thank you very much, and thanks to PATV.
Great. Thank you both for joining us tonight. Okay, so I'd like to invite Board 4 up to join us now. So Ed Charest and Bukia Chavalry. All right, thank you for joining us. So I know you've been in the audience, so I won't go over the rules again. I think you both know what they are. We're pleased to have you both here with us tonight. So I'll give you each a minute to introduce yourselves, and then we'll go into the questions. So, ladies first.
Well, good evening, Tina, and I would like to thank you and thank PATV and the West Branch Library for having us tonight. My name is Bukia Chavalry, and I am a first-time candidate. I grew up in Haiti. I came here when I was 20 years old with $100 in my pocket. I started from the bottom and worked my way up, and I currently, my background is in business, real estate investing, and sales and media marketing. I currently serve as the executive assistant for the office, for the Massachusetts Office for Refugees and Immigrants.
Excellent, thank you. Ed.
Thank you. My name is Ed Charis. I'm finishing up my first term in City Council. Prior to that, I spent 8 years in the school committee, which a lot of people say that's where you get some good training. I have a wife of over 28 years, lived in the city for 28 years, 2 children, Samantha, who's 27, and another daughter, Kelsey, who lives away, 25. Both of my kids started through the elementary schools, high school, finished up in high school and middle school. Been involved in every level of PTO, school council in the school districts. Head coach for numerous years, also in soccer program. Again, finished out my first term. I'm happy to be here and looking for a second term. Looking forward to the answers. Any questions?
Okay, great. So we'll start with the one I think that's always on everyone's mind is taxes. So as I had mentioned earlier to the previous candidates, so nobody ever wants to see their taxes go up, but it's inevitable. Peabody does enjoy one of the lowest tax rates, residential tax rates in the state. But it's also subsidized by a higher commercial tax rate. So how do you propose keeping taxes low or stable for residents? And do you look for new opportunities? Does spending need to be scrutinized? What would be your approach to that? So, Ed, we'll start with you.
Yeah, nobody wants to pay more money in taxes, including myself. And it's a balance. You know, we have infrastructure that we need to maintain, our sidewalks, our streets, our trees. When people call me and say, listen, I'm looking for a tree to be taken down because it's rotted, or a sidewalk's broken up, or potholes, you don't ask them for additional money. That's not part of the package. It's tax dollars to pay for that. But you want to make sure your tax dollars are being spent properly. And I can tell you, here in the city, they are. We have good departments, we have good department heads watching over every dollar that is spent here in the city, and the taxpayers should know that. So yes, you always want to keep an eye. My family will tell me I'm the cheapest guy around, so I make sure I get every value for my dollar, and I make sure the city gets and the residents get every dollar's worth they spend in taxes.
Okay, great. Kia?
Tax for me is a big concern. I chose to move to Peabody about 6 years ago. My husband is a retiree, and one of the main attractions to us, beside all the amenities we have in Peabody, is the tax rate. So it is important for us to keep the seniors in mind, because most of our seniors are living on a fixed income. And I've noticed from the time I moved to Peabody, tax have been increasing year after year. It is great that we have the lowest rate in the city right now, but if it keeps on increasing, we won't have that reputation anymore. I think the city needs to be more proactive and think smarter and find other ways to generate more revenues to the city. And we have an obligation to protect our senior citizens. We are standing on the senior citizens' shoulders. They've built the city. We have to protect them. And we have an expense problem. We are actually spending a lot more than we are earning. We have an earning problem. I think if we looked at other ways to generate more revenue, we would have to look at increasing tax year after year.
Okay, thank you. So the city has taken some significant steps to generate more activity in revitalizing downtown. So as a ward councilor outside of that particular area, does this impact the residents in your ward in what way? Kia, we'll start with you.
I actually thank you for allowing me to volunteer with you when we had the Pizza Fest. And I talked to many Ward 4 residents regarding the pop-up dinner we have or pop-up bar, and they're very excited about the activities that the city is doing. It's inviting neighbors and family to come to our downtown and explore and also support the small businesses. I love those innovative ideas. I would love to see more of it. And I think there are other ways that now, that we are in October, there are a lot of cars driving to Peabody going to Salem. I'd love to sit down with the Main Street and the Peabody Chamber of Commerce to brainstorm about ideas that we can use to piggyback on the volume of traffic and cars and businesses going to Salem. I think Peabody needs to compete. At this time, I think we're not competing. We're not competing with Salem. We're not competing with Beverly. We're not even competing with Lynn. Gladys Knight is coming to a concert in Lynn on November 12th. And what are we getting out of that? We're not getting much. I think we need more. We need new vision. We need new ideas, and that's the reason why I'm in the race. I'd love to support small businesses. I'd love to advocate for our seniors, our hardworking families, and this is why I'm in this race.
Okay, thank you. Ed?
Again, thank you. I have participated in downtown, the pop-up pubs, the concerts, the pizza parties, and all those things. Again, thank you for inviting me that and sitting on the panels. The Ward 4 does touch on downtown. It does. It does have a little piece. And just like Peabody has a little ocean front too. No one really seems to know about, but we do have a little piece of downtown. And it is being more desirable to live in those parts of Ward 4 because you can walk to downtown. The people who are coming to the city are the youth, and we need that. And they're looking for things downtown to go to. And we are bringing them in. Numerous restaurants are coming in, activities are going on down there. We have a small theater that's going to be there. We are competing with the communities around us. We're not there yet, but we are competing, and we're doing it at the right direction. So I do think what we're doing downtown is right. I think the brighter days are to come. People can see that. I talk to people outside the city, and they know what's going on in Peabody, and they're excited about it. I'm excited about it. So I think we're doing the right thing. We're going the right direction, and there is this for us to compete with.
Okay, great. Is there a major area for redevelopment or new growth in your ward that you'd like to see, or what type of project would you like to bring to your ward? I think we start with you, Ed.
Well, there is an area that's going to be coming up, and that's the old J. Thompson Hospital. I've talked to other people who are interested in that spot. I won't divulge their names because they haven't came forward and what they're looking to do. It has to be the right project. That's the bottom line. It's not going to be something that it puts a burden on the tax dollars, the school system, the fire and police. It has to be the right program, the right situation, the right development. So that is one there. Emerson Park is the other thing. As you know, I made a motion for the Bob Driscoll Memorial Ice Skating Rink that everyone's so excited for. Hopefully this year we'll have a good season for it. Last year wasn't so great. They have that, the police and fire memorial that we have there. People from all over the state is coming to see that because it's so beautiful. I was so excited to be supportive of that since day one, and with purchasing 2 bricks, one for myself, my wife, my family, the other one for my neighborhood, my street, because we all appreciate what Ward 4 is coming to be. So Emerson Park is a great area to bring some new life. You might know I made a motion to bring back the old Sun House that used to be there many, many years ago that burnt down. It was a gazebo. and they used to have bands there. Not to compete with downtown, but to have another area there. And that's to be paid by private money, not tax dollars money. There's 4 local bands who grew up here in Ward 4 who wants to play there when the time comes to either raise money for that project or to support it afterwards. Those are the nice things I want. As people know, it's all about quality of life in Peabody. When you call, I'm there. When there's a situation, I'm there. So there's small little projects and there's larger projects.
Thank you.
I am very concerned about how business-friendly the Ward 4 representative currently is. I've been knocking on doors since May, and I've talked to many residents and small business owners as well. And I've even attended a meeting where the Ward 4 councilor voted business down and not welcoming a new business opening. And small businesses are the engine of our economy. We need to be more business friendly because they hire most of the local people and they generate revenue to the town. I'd love to see more infrastructure done. I'd love to see a representative who would advocate for small businesses, help cut through the red tapes. And I was appalled to meet one of the small business actually a couple weeks ago who told me that since he's been in business for a year and a half, he only saw the ward councilor once. And when he stopped by, he came to ask for a favor to sponsor an event that he was doing for free. I don't think that kind of approach is healthy for a business because they will feel intimidated, and we want the small businesses to thrive, and we need to provide the necessary support for them to get there.
Okay, thank you. So let's see. Last, with the other councilors we just talked about, so I've seen on some of the city council meetings, there is often sometimes a pattern of ward councilors supporting whatever is happening in another person's ward that they want or don't want to happen in that neighborhood. Do you see the individual role of a ward councilor as being different from councilor at large in determining overall what is best for the city? Kia?
I think Ward 4 councilors and at-large councilors, as well as all of the other elected officials in the city or state level, need to work in collaboration, because at the end of the day, we're elected for one mission, to serve the people. So we need to work together, support one another, learn from one another, bounce ideas, and see how we can help propel the city forward. It is very important that we work together.
Okay, great. Ed?
Yeah, Ward 4 councils are a little different than at large. And at-large councilors will tell you that, and Ward 4 councilors will tell you that. Our first votes usually is what's best for the ward, and then what's good for the city. That necessarily always goes hand in hand. In some cases, like my opponent says, I voted down or voted against a business to come in to Ward 4. Yeah, I voted against it because that's what the neighborhood wanted. Okay? Chandler's Ice Cream is an area that wasn't being desirable for food, and the neighborhood did not want that. I spoke to those neighbors. I spoke to those neighbors numerous times. So what's my vote as a ward councilor would be is looking to recognize what is best for the ward, the neighbors. And sometimes that may fly in the face of what is good for the whole city, but the whole city doesn't live right next door to a development or a property or a business that's not right for that neighborhood. So I think ward councilors understand what their roles are. We don't go, chit-chatting in the back room and figure out what we're gonna do. Everyone's open-minded. We have a great council. Everyone votes the way they feel they should, and ward council votes for their neighbors.
I'd like to just add a little, rectify what.
We don't have time for that, sorry. You can use it in your closing statement, though, okay? So if elected, what is the one thing you'd like to accomplish for your ward? So I believe we're going to start with Kia.
I believe infrastructure is one of the major concerns, talking to all the residents in the ward. We have water pressure on Baldwin Street, Waterra, Thomas Street, and Newport Page. We'd love to see better sidewalk, more of a safety walk where families can easily enjoy the neighborhood. I think it's very important that we maintain the quality of life we enjoy in Ward 4, but also to provide ongoing support to enhance it. And this is the reason why I'm in this race, because I would love to see a better life, better quality of life for our seniors, and see Peabody remain affordable for hardworking families, seniors, and small businesses.
Thank you. Infrastructure, I'm all about that. The quality of life, I'm all about that. That's why I've been spending my last two years at. If you go on my website at Ward 4, you'll see the list of the accomplishments I've done. It is infrastructure, it is sidewalks, it is streets, it is trees. It is getting the bus off a street that it shouldn't have been on because it's too narrow, wasn't safe. It's cleaning up a state bridge, underpass, to have them clean up and do the right thing. It's extending an island that was dangerous to pull out of because it wasn't long enough, you couldn't see down the street. It's taking care of the small things. Terra Drive, when they had a development that was going to go in there that wasn't right, where you have the Sisters of Carmelite who wanted to save their neighborhood from development that wasn't right. Off of Farnham Ave, where there was going to be a lot for 3 houses to get built when it was only buildable for 1. I stood up for all these people. That's what I will continue to do. I return every single phone call. And actually, I get phone calls. When I call people back, the first thing usually they say, I can't believe you called me back so soon. And then I meet them out front of their house, in their woods, the different areas where they have a problem with. If it's the neighbors, if it's the issues, we take it on. That's what I want to continue. I think if you go on my page, you'll see all my accomplishments. That's what I want to continue to do. Again, I raised my family here. I want them to be able to raise their family here. We have a great city. We have great people here. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we're coming up on the end of our time, so I'll give you each a minute to offer a closing statement. We started with Kia, so we'll start with you now, Ed.
Again, I would love for the support, and thank you, Deanna, for doing this, and PAT, and the library here to support this and sponsor this. I'd love another term to run to be re-elected for Ward 4 councilor. I have the passion. I think I showed what I will do and what I can do, and the phone calls I will return and the emails I return. I want people to know that I am a person that you can reach out to and count on. I believe I proved that. I want to continue to work on that. Again, I've been here for numerous years and spent a lot of time cleaning up the city, working at PTOs, coaching soccer. I've been around, I've been out there. I think I'm a familiar face. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank Councilor Ed for serving the city 8 years on the school committee and 2 years as Ward 4, and I believe I have the most respect for anybody who served. However, I think he, to the best of his ability, has done everything he could, but we need more in Peabody. We need more stronger, smart infrastructure. We need more innovative ideas to make the city strong. We need to find a way to support our small businesses, our seniors, and we need new, fresh ideas, and this is where I come in. And this is what I would like to seize this opportunity to ask you, to humbly ask you for your vote on November 7th. We need to grow as a city. We need to help maintain the quality of life we all enjoy, and we need now a strong advocate for our seniors, strong families, hardworking families, and our business community. Thank you.
Great. Well, I want to thank both of you for joining us tonight and sharing your thoughts on the city and on what's happening in the ward, and good luck on the 7th.
Thank you.
All right, and now we'll move on to Ward 6 with Mike Giamolis and Mark O'Neill. All right, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. So, 2 new faces on the scene, so we appreciate you being here and your interest in representing Ward 6. As you've sat through already, we'll give each of you a minute to give an opening statement, and then we'll launch into some questions. So, Mike, we'll start with you.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Michael Giamolis. I'm running for Ward 6 Councilor. I'm a lifetime Peabody resident, married to my wife Kathy. I have 3 daughters that grew up in Peabody. Tessa's 19, my daughter Janet's 17, and my youngest one Dina's 15. I own part owner of a leather tannery in Peabody. It's called Travel Leather. It's been in existence for almost 70 years now. It's part of Peabody's tradition, and I'm very, very proud that I'm a tanner. And Peabody's been very good to me over the years and my family. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I love Peabody and I want to give back. So I appreciate this opportunity to express myself. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Mark O'Neill, and I'm a candidate for Ward 6 Councilor. I'm born and raised in Peabody and have been a resident of Ward 6 for 45 years. I'm currently married to my wife Tracy for the past 22 years, and we have 2 children, Caroline and Joseph. I live over on Antrim Road, where I also grew up. I'm currently an assistant vice president with Lexington Insurance Company in Boston, Massachusetts, and I currently manage their transportation department. Part of that business background is for the past 25 years, I've been involved with budgets, negotiations, contract review, as well as reviewing budgets. Excuse me. I believe my business background will help make me an effective city councilor. I'm running for this position because I believe Ward 6 needs to continue having an independent and strong councilor on its behalf. Also, like many concerns, I'm concerned about rising taxes. If elected, I plan on working to make sure that we spend our dollars wisely going forward.
Okay, thank you. All right, you said the tax word, so we're going to start with that question again. So taxes, we know, are always on everyone's mind. They go up every year in every community, not just Peabody. But it does place a burden on particularly those on a fixed income, and it's something that I know residents routinely voice to their ward councilor. What would you do to try to keep taxes low in Peabody or maintain them being stable? Would you do you think there's opportunities to look for additional revenue in other ways, or is it a cost-cutting measure? Michael, we'll start with you. I'm sorry, we'll start with you, Mark.
I certainly mentioned the taxes because that's something that everyone has been talking about as I've walked the streets since the summertime. Certainly Peabody still has a very, very low tax rate, which is very advantageous, as we know, but we've had taxes rising for the past 14 years, and we certainly have a lot of people and residents on fixed incomes. And I think part of what I talked about in the opening is I want to make sure that if I'm elected to city council, that I want to make sure that I'm making sure that the monies we put forth, new spending, makes sense both short-term and long-term, so that we're not just spending money and we are prepared for either another economic downturn or another fiscal crisis that happens through no fault of our own. Certainly federal grants and state grants are possibilities, and I know that the city's already looking at that and doing what it can. But you know, I'm not against spending. We've got to make sure we take care of our infrastructure, our schools, our buildings, streets, and facilities. But let's make sure that we're careful on new spending, that it makes economic and fiscal sense for the city long term.
Great, thank you. Michael.
Yes, taxes is a big problem. I've been speaking to a lot of people, and especially the seniors that are on fixed incomes. They've been complaining that their taxes have been going up the last few years and they can't afford it. What I would try to do is work with the other councilors and city officials, try to bring more businesses into Peabody to create more tax dollars, and hopefully we can put some of that to good use, so you know, we can keep our taxes stable. Also, we need to keep the level of our services really good to attract people into Peabody, to make it a desirable location for them to come, and to keep everybody that's here. If it's not affordable, they'll leave. So I believe working with the other city officials, trying to get more businesses in here and be responsible about spending, we can accomplish this.
Okay, great, thank you. So we all know there's been a lot of focus on downtown and revitalizing that area and everything. Ward 6 is probably the furthest away from it. How do you see that, that effort and focus on that? Is it helping your residents? Is it something that's important to them? Or are they untouched by it?
We'll start with you.
I believe that we're all affected by it, and I have to, on Mayor Ted Betancourt, trying to make downtown like a place to come to, and like a destination, and he's worked hard on it, and I think some of his ideas are great. We're trying to get businesses down there, but there are issues with the traffic. Some people in Ward 6, you know, during rush hour, they don't want to go downtown. But overall, I think he's making great progress, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, Chair, comment that certainly the city and has been working on this issue for a number of years, trying to get more businesses downtown that can attract more local residents. Because quite honestly, a lot of folks outside of downtown will go elsewhere for either entertainment or food, and I think that's a shame, because if they're supporting local businesses, that helps everyone. And I think that you know, while it may not affect Ward 6 directly, certainly they're part of the city overall, and as a city councilor, that's an issue that I'd be focused on, trying to help revitalize downtown with parking, and certainly making sure that we get good businesses that help the area and just don't turn it into some sort of bar community or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So staying on the economic development side, is there any areas for redevelopment or new growth in Ward 6, and what sort of projects would you want to see happen in those areas? So Mark, we'll start with you.
Ward 6 has been pretty built up over the years, certainly, and it's largely a residential area. There is certainly businesses zoned there. I guess I'd say that, you know, I'm not against development, but where appropriate. Certainly one of the big issues in Ward 6 is the Birchwood development, which is going to be over 20 luxury homes that are going to be likely built by the Burke School over the next 3 or 4 years. And that's still in the planning stages, but you know, that creates opportunity for nice homes to come into the area, help with the tax base and new residents, but it certainly presents challenges to the people who live in that community right now, whether it be construction traffic, noise, and just, you know, upheaval, if you will, for 3 or 4 years as this, you know, large wooded acre lot is made into, you know, a residential neighborhood. So those are the things you have to make sure you're on top of as a city council, make sure that we have the right special permits if necessary, and make sure that developers, whether it be residential or commercial, comply with the laws that we have on the books, and make sure that we don't adversely affect the residents that are surrounding that, or the businesses surrounding that area.
Right. Okay, thank you. Mike?
I believe it's Ward 6, primarily residential. Big issue up there, of course, is my opponent just talked about the Birchwood project. It is a big concern because there is sewerage to deal with, flooding, keeping the children safe at the Burke School, and also blasting when they do this. It has not been passed, they're still negotiating. I was told as part of the negotiations that trucks will not be going down Burke Street at all. We'll keep them away from the school, keep the kids safe. And there's a plan to go through Villa Lane. And they were planning to try to go through 62, but that didn't work out with Bostic. So again, it's going to take time. We have to go back and forth. The engineers for the developer and the city engineers are discussing what they're planning on doing. And I know it's a very big concern with all the neighbors there. But that's the biggest problem right now up in West Peabody as far as development goes.
Okay, great. If elected as a ward councilor, do you see your role as primarily just representing the interests of the residents in your ward, or do you take a bigger view and look out for what's best for the city? Mike?
I believe as ward councilor, your ward should come first, but there's an opportunity to work with all the other officials in Peabody from wards 1 through 5 and the city councilors, because it's all one big picture together, and we're a community together, and we need to work together. I have best interest of Ward 6 and be their voice and make decisions for them. And sometimes it have to be a hard decision, but whether they agree or don't agree, I try to support their views. And I definitely still think that we have to work with wards 1 through 5, try to get more businesses into Peabody to help with our taxes, and that's something that I want to do. And I will do it if I get elected.
Yeah, similar vein, I would add that, you know, as a city councilor, whether you're representing any of the wards, there's, 10 other city councilors. So, as Michael noted, you know, you've got to represent Ward 6, and that's why we have the various wards have their own representative. But you've got to be able to work with the other city councilors because you ultimately will make votes and make judgments that affect all of city. the city of Peabody. So certainly want to make sure that I will be a strong advocate for Ward 6 to make sure its spending is controlled where possible, and make sure we take care of the issues that come up, whether it be street issues that certainly need to be looked at, and also the day-to-day constituent services that have to be done. But certainly you've got to work with everyone. I certainly want to add that my role as a Ward 6 councilor, if I'm elected, is that I will make sure that I'm strong and independent, and I'm not just going to be a rubber stamp for anyone and try to go along. I don't want to be an obstructionist, but I want to make sure that we make the right decision. I may not make a popular decision, but based on the information that we have before the council, I want to make the correct one long-term for Peabody.
Okay, great. Well, kind of picking up on that theme, what do you think the city should do to resolve the Betancourt furniture building case? Mark?
It's still in litigation, so I'd rather not comment, but certainly it is one of those situations that is unfortunate. I'm not as in tune as I should be on the litigation part, but I know it's in litigation and it's certainly going to cost some money to resolve. But I'm not equipped to comment. It's certainly unfortunate.
Okay. Well, let me just, we'll change. What would you like to see happen with that building?
Anything that can be used to, I guess right now it's not being used to its full value. So I would just say any building that's empty, if we can bring either mixed use. I know that there's an attempt to bring more residential locations downtown. My concern with that is that there's nothing wrong with having apartments and residential apartments, although I'd rather see more condo living, more ownership taking place there, and certainly as we have more people coming down living in multiple dwellings, we have more traffic. So I guess I want to make sure that as we do these types of things, there's a long-term plan, which I know there is, but those are things you have to make sure is it's not just a, let's fix this problem and then we've got something over here. So like I say, I know that they're working on those long-term solutions, but that's how I try to look at things is what's good for right now, but how does it work with the whole network of properties downtown?
Okay, great. Mike, what would you like to see happen with the Betancourt building?
I would like to see probably multi-use, more businesses come down there, if it possibly could. That's what I would like to see happen.
Okay, great. If elected, what is the one thing you'd like to accomplish for your ward?
I would like to see our ward to prosper and continuously grow. I'm very proud of Ward 6. I'm very happy to live there. Most people are. They're very proud of it. I'd like to see it continue to grow. I'd like to see I'd like to see the Birchwood project go through. I know we have the issues there. I think we'll add tax revenue, and the big problems with the sewer and the flooding, I think, can be fixed by the negotiations going on between builders, engineers, Peabody's engineers, and I think that could be a problem solved in the very end. Beautify, Ward 6 and help with taxes. And I just want to continuously see it grow.
I've been, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a resident of Ward 6 for 45 years, so I certainly am committed to the community. What I would want to do, the main goal is to make sure I'm serving the residents, taking care of their issues, helping them navigate City Hall if they have a problem, and doing the job of a Ward 6 councilor, and as well as representing them on the City Council. I would differ with my opponent that the proposed Birchwood development, I don't think is very good for the that area in Precinct 3. I think that now that it's zoned and certainly legal to have a residential development there's nothing illegal, which is why we're in the situation. I just don't think it's going to be very good for 3 or 4 years with the residents in that neighborhood dealing with the construction noise, potential flooding, and I think Mike might be minimizing the potential effect on that community.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, you guys have been great with your answers and very succinct. So tell me, what do you think about the billboards that have been going up in Peabody over the last couple of years? And do you think the revenue that the city generates from it is worth it? So, Mark.
Well, I know certainly we had a challenge with someone who had a billboard permit, and then a new company came in and they were doing things they shouldn't. I know the city, that came before the city council. I mean, I get the idea that we have billboards more attracting, advertisers and money. I'm just not a huge fan of them. I just don't think it brings a great characteristic. I'm not opposed to them. I just don't think it's the best thing. There are worse things, but like I say, kind of a honky-tonk feel if we have too many of them, and sometimes it can be distracting with driving if they have those flashing type images that are shown.
I think they're fine. They're bringing revenue. They're advertising businesses. As long as they're on the highways, they're not in residential areas, I don't have a problem with them at all.
Okay, great. All right, so we're just about running out of time, so we'll give you each a minute to give a closing statement. And I believe we started with Mike, so Mark, you'll have the opportunity now.
Well, thank you for having us here tonight and offering us this opportunity. I've enjoyed myself during this campaign, walking the neighborhoods and getting to meet old friends and meeting new people. And part of that is listening to folks who are looking for a counselor who's going to listen to their issues, help them with the issues, resolving them, and ultimately acting in a professional manner on the city council. And those are the values that I share, and also would make sure that I act if elected as a city councilor. Having lived in this ward for 45 years, I feel that I understand the issues before us and believe that my background, skills, and work ethic are going to make me the most qualified candidate to serve as the Ward 6 councilor. I appreciate you listening tonight. I hope everyone will come out and vote on Tuesday, November 7th, and will consider voting for me for your next Ward 6 councilor. Thank you.
Thank you. I am a business owner in Peabody. I make hard decisions, make budgets, I hire people. I know how to plan for the future. I've also, over the years, I invested a lot of time in the school systems, helping the children, getting involved with PTO. I've donated a lot of my time for youth sports, softball, basketball, soccer. I'm also, I helped bring in fast-pitch youth softball to Peabody. I was part of an organization that got that in because the girls never had it. Time they got up to the high school, they only know how to do slow pitch. I worked very hard on that too. I'm also a Shriner. I donate a lot of my time to the Brent's hospitals. We have a special needs daughter. We donate a lot of our time to Special Olympics. I get involved. I'm a hard worker. I love Peabody, and I hope you vote for me to support Ward 6. I want to thank you very much for your time tonight. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. And for our viewers at home, thank you for tuning in and getting to know the candidates who are so passionate about our city and representing your interests. Please come out on November 7th and place your vote. Thank you.